seconds. Okay, and we are live. Welcome to a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast. Once again, I got Logan with me. Logan, how you doing this week?
Good. It's not a manic Monday, but it's been pretty busy so far. How about you?
Yeah, it's been good. Gaming news is all over the place at the minute. Obviously, we have a lot to talk about. People that have noticed this past week's been a bit weird when it comes to the exclusive talk. Obviously, we're going to get into all of that. Other than that, we've had a lot of cool new game stories. Obviously, there's the KOTOR thing, which I know you'll want to talk about because we both like Star Wars games and we really don't get enough. But it's been a long week. Logan, what have you been playing?
I wrapped up Brotato, the latest update expansion, the Beastmaster one. And so I completed the codex so for the items, and so I unlocked all the gears and characters and stuff. Mints. I've been enjoying that. The Beastmaster is a lot of fun to play as. Been doing that. I'm plowing through, really enjoying it. It's just something so wholesome and fun,
Yeah.
but also, just really good mechanics and gameplay. Like we talked about it last time, but the introduction of the certain mechanics for Lost Odyssey where it was like changing the formula for um turn-based action game
Oh, yeah.
JRPG, and then Expedition 33 took it a step further with the parrying, and it's like that. It's like on the surface you hear hacking while I'm shooting something, and you start getting anxiety. You're like, oh crap, how am I supposed to juggle this? Like this alien's trying to impale me with this plasma sword or shooting at me, and then I've got this kid yelling at me. I gotta do this to
Yeah.
destroy this thing, and so it's like on the first time or two, it's kind of like ugh, but then it becomes second nature. It's just like A B X Y. You just go around the little dial thing, and you just memorize which one goes which direction. You click all the power ups, and then boom, you just go to town on these robots, and it's just a lot of fun. Capcom is it can't be enough said. They're just on a different level right now. They're just smoking everybody. Loving the games overall. And how about you, man? Besides those, I've been binging The Boys, I guess.
Nice.
I'm catching up on the last season and ready for the finale.
Well, by the way, have you finished Pragmata yet? Oh, I think we lost him. Yeah. Before we went live, Logan was having some connection issues. Discord has been weird as well. So, Logan, if you can't speak, just jump in, jump back out, and whatever works. But yeah, I've been playing all sorts. One of the big ones I've been playing, and I just started it before last week's podcast, and that was Crimson Desert. My God in heaven. Um, I briefly played the first chapter. I put it like this: before the last episode of the show, I played basically everything before the first main mission. Uh, and people weren't joking. This game it's absolutely massive, and I can honestly say why it's going to be a lot of people's game of the year because it's wonderful. um, I complain about open world games sometimes being too big or not having enough to do in them, but in Crimson Desert, there's so much to do. There's almost too much stuff to do in a good way. Um, the amount of different things you can interact with in the environment, which is crazy. Just chopping down trees, such a weird mechanic that's so useful. There's every mini game known to man. There's fishing. There's little archery competitions in the first town you go to, and just being able to interact with all of the characters you walk past. It's crazy. And what's
That
cool is
mini
you're
game.
actually encouraged to talk to everyone. So if there's a certain shopkeeper you sell all your stuff to, if you say hi every time you meet them, you get up, the respect meter goes up a little bit. I assume that if it reaches the highest, you might get a discount or something, or maybe some more items unlocked to buy. But either way, I think it's a really cool way to introduce that mechanic. But they've just put in so many mechanics in this game. I think for a lot of people, when they start this game, they're going to be a bit overwhelmed with the amount of game mechanics. But I think with the way the game's made, it actually encourages you to discover these things by yourself. So, like, normally, if a game has crafting, it's nightmare fuel for me, right? You can give beggars money, and that earns their trust as well. And just before the show went live, I literally just figured out that if you feed a dog or a cat X amount of times or pet them X amount of times per day, you can have a pet in the game, and they'll actually pick up all the items from enemies you've destroyed. It's just like really cool mechanics that aren't really explained here, and this game is jam-packed with them. And this funny thing is, I don't know if I've got footage in the show, but I guess we'll see in a minute. But a lot of games in the fantasy setting, there's sometimes a side mission set in a quarry, a stone quarry or marble quarry, and you go there to clear out the bandits in like things like The Witcher 3, basically any fantasy game. And there's normally 6 to 10 enemies in there. You clear out, mission over. Oh my god, I was not prepared, because you go to this massive quarry near the beginning of the game, and it's a completely optional mission, and there's maybe 200 enemies. I was overwhelmed. I was also impressed at the same time. I was like, I did not expect this, like an actual quarry-sized quarry filled with 200 people. And there's a boss at the end called the Excavatortron or something like that, and it's basically a dude in a old school style like diving suit that has drills for hands. The boss was a lot easier than the rest of the quarry, but my god, just like I was so impressed with this game. And yeah, the other day I discovered that if you use this ability that you can sort of like grab objects and move them. Well, I discovered by accident that if you grab the top of a tree, you can bend it all the way back and basically slingshot yourself into the air. And I just thought, that's so cool. And you can use that to get over certain walls and stuff. For instance, I needed to get to a certain area very quickly, and I just slingshotted myself over this wall I couldn't climb. Like, perfect. Now, I did say a couple of weeks ago that Replaced is currently my game of the year. I have a feeling that might change. Replaced was perfect for me. It's synthwave, it's cyberpunk, it's just a really good, well-made action-adventure game. And then you have Crimson Desert, and it scratches the itch of wanting to play Red Dead Redemption, but while wanting to play something new. Because it blatantly is fantasy Red Dead Redemption 2. Is it as polished as Red Dead Redemption 2? No. But then again, I think that game had like thousands of people on it. But the developers made something really special with this game. And the fact that they're coming out with updates all the time, listening to feedback, and there's no microtransactions. There's no season pass. There's no expansion pass. Although they have said that they may expand the story with content. And I'll tell you what, I will be buying that expansion day one, because my god, I can't get enough of it. And it's kind of funny because I said before, there's all these game mechanics, and it can seem overwhelming. But I don't want that to discourage people, because it's a brand new single player game. Don't let that put you off. If people are interested in a brand new open world fantasy game, it's not an RPG yet. It has almost all of the same mechanics as an RPG, but they made something really good with this game. And it is basically Red Dead Redemption 2 mixed with The Witcher 3, with a little bit of Skyrim in there, and also a little bit of Tears of the Kingdom. Being able to fall from the sky and just like get to places quicker. Being able to fast traveling in this game, super quick. I know it's their own proprietary engine, but whatever they're doing behind the scenes, my god, you can go from one end to the map to the other in like 3 seconds. It's perfect. Now, I played before all the big updates when it comes to the 4K resolution stuff, so I can't really say anything about that beforehand because people have asked me like, what's the image quality like? Like I'm playing it on performance mode with the 4K output turned on. I have got chromatic aberration turned off. Why would anyone ever have that on in a game? It's terrible. Such an awful thing to have in games. Motion blur turned off. I do that for everything. But man, it's so good. And I know it's weird because it came out a couple of months ago and I've been talking about this game since 2019, but I actually did myself some favors because you can choose where you want the camera, for instance. All the pre-release footage that I was talking about, I thought the camera was way too far away from the character. That's not a problem. You can pick where you want the camera. In fact, you can play in first person if you want, which is pretty cool. But man, like when this year's over and all these games are out, I think a lot of people will look at Crimson Desert and think that might actually be one of the best games of this generation. Like I've just hit chapter 3, and already I'm thinking this. I think more people need to play it. I think it's sold over 5 million copies, which is great. It's been number 1 on the Xbox store in the UK a bunch of times now. It just goes to show, if you make a cool new fantasy game, make it well, and it'll do well. We've seen it in the past. Elden Ring sold over 25 million copies, and it's in a genre most people would consider niche. And then you have things like Expedition 33, a turn-based game, and people tend to dog on turn-based games. Clearly wasn't a problem for that game, but it just seems like every year or so, a big fantasy game comes out and takes the world by storm. And Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 last year, that did really well, although that's historical, not really fantasy, but I think people know what I mean. But I'm so impressed by this, and I think more people need to play it. Even its UK price, I think, was very fair. In the UK, I think it was $54.99, which I think is, spot on. Like, that's how much AAA games should cost, in my opinion. But man, if people played The Witcher 3 back in 2015 and want something like that, I think people have to get this. I think it's a must-play game. And there have been some talk in my feed a lot saying that the story isn't really the best. Again, I've just started chapter 3. There hasn't really been much story outside of, get rid of bandits, try and get the Greymanes back together, that type of thing. But other than that, like, this game's marvelous. Technical wonder. Another game I've been playing is Forza Horizon 6. My God in heaven, that game is beautiful. That game captures the vibe of what it must be like to, race in Tokyo and Japan in general. The scenery is great. The fact that you can turn on the radio and you've got everyone from Linkin Park to Baby Metal on the radio is actually really cool. But they absolutely nailed it.
The Gundam part.
Sorry, say that again?
Part.
Logan, you keep butting in and out. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're saying. It's just your connection. I wouldn't worry. But anyway, the radio, it's really cool. There's a lot of Japanese music I've never heard before. And, there's some synthwave in there as well, which I really like. And people might know, like, a certain theme going on. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is another fantasy game that took off. But, man, Forza Horizon 6 is great. And, we're going to be talking about its success in a little bit, but this is a racing game, and it's doing really well. And this is doing, like, single-player RPG numbers on Steam, which is crazy. Racing games in the UK can be very popular, but like I've never seen racing numbers this high on Steam. But Logan, have you gotten to play Forza Horizon 6 yet? Okay, he's still gone. I'm sure the connection issue will be sorted, but man, Forza Horizon 6 is great. And it just makes me wonder, like, what are they going to do with expansions for that game? Because, in the past, we've had Lego, we've had Hot Wheels, we've had various different kinds of mountains and stuff. What are they going to do with Japan? I'm guessing there's going to be some anime-centric stuff. I would have guessed Attack on Titan. However, I think they might stay away from that because of the way the the Titans look. You could do anything. Dragon Ball Z, they could do something really nuts with that stuff. But yeah, and by the way, this is like the most. People have said that Forza Horizon 5 and 6 are identical looking graphically. They aren't. Like 6 looks considerably better, and you also have the unique lighting of Japan as well as those pink trees they have. Like, it's a beautiful game. Now I will talk about this game more next week because I need more time to play it. But the events in this game look absolutely wild. I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy this game. Now let's see what we've got. By the way, Logan, are you back yet? Okay, he's going to hop back in. Again, connection issues. It happens once every so often. By the way, before we get the show really started, again, we have like 19 topics. If you're enjoying it, please share it out. I messed up all the settings before we went live because of some technical difficulties. So if you share it out, it's greatly appreciated and helps the show grow and all that stuff. Let's see. Okay, Game Pass got a bunch of new games, some of which I think will be really big. So we got Forza Horizon 6 today in Game Pass Ultimate and PC. We have Dead Static Drive, that's in Premium. Peppa Pig, I know a lot of people are going to love that one. That's an Ultimate PC and Premium. I'm sure if you have little kids, that'll be nice. Pigeon Simulator is in Premium. You have Remnant 2, which is Ultimate PC and Premium. You have Winter Burrow, which is now in Premium. That's sort of this really chill, cozy survival game without being over the top. Next up, you have Jurassic World Evolution 3. That game is actually pretty big, very popular. A lot of people love that game. Next up, we have Final Fantasy VI. That's from the Pixel Remaster Collection. I've played it. So good. Next up, we have Kaluto Park. Honestly, I have no idea what that one is. Next up, we have Crash Out Crew. That's a co-op game. Next up, we have The Outer Worlds 2. I believe that's the quote-unquote remaster. Next up, we have Echo Generation 2. That's an Ultimate and PC. And finally, we have Escape Simulator, which is Ultimate PC and Premium. So, nice variety of games there. I think a lot of people are going to be happy with that. But obviously, the big standouts for me, Forza Horizon 6, Final Fantasy 6, and Lunar Abyss. Lunar Abyss is meant to be really good. If you're looking for a single-player, sci-fi, first-person shooter, that might scratch that itch. Before we get into the rest of the topics, we actually have the first Super Chat of the day by Nick W. for $1.99. He says, next week, Mina the Hollower and 007 First Light. Well, thank you for the $1.99, Nick. Honestly, I think 007 is going to take up a lot of time. I love James Bond games. Shocker, I'm British and I like James Bond. We really don't get enough James Bond games. We really don't. I think that if you're a fan of James Bond and you're a gamer, it's been rough. It's been really rough. The last Bond game, proper Bond game, I believe was Bloodstone on the Xbox 360. And that kind of had mixed impressions, but it was basically a third-person shooter. But the developers have said, hey, if this does well, we'll get more. And that's all I want. I want more Bond games. Obviously, I think this is going to do well. Single-player games have been hitting hard this year. Pragmata, doing really well. Resident Evil 9, astronomically well. Crimson Desert, super well. So I'm hoping 007, First Light continues that trend. You obviously have Lego Batman, which I think that's going to be huge. It's an open-world Arkham game. It just happens to be Lego.
But he's too cool to be Bond, Jamie.
Yeah, oh, God. I swear to God, if I see one more PC Gamer article like that, I'm going to lose my marbles. I still can't get over it.
Polygon got you covered today, don't worry.
What did Polygon do now?
Oh, they had one about like how this will feed into one of our topics, but basically like about how the stuff Xbox has been doing lately is just a dying beast trying to fight for relevancy or something like that, basically. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that stuff shouldn't surprise me. At the end of the day, I think Polygon, there's probably two reasons to do that stuff. Either one, they stopped getting review codes, so they just do this stuff. Or two, these websites are going the way of the dodo. Polygon, Kotaku, those are the last bastions of a thankful dying breed. Clickbait, gaming media. And, I mean, look, 10 years from now, will Kotaku and Polygon be here? I'm guessing no.
Depends on rent.
Yeah. And, like, we see these sort of articles all the time from these people. And, like, the James Bond thing, we'll loop that in there as well. Like, these hotly anticipated games, like James Bond is probably one of the highest, most anticipated games this year. And they put out an article like that saying, like, they didn't relate with Bond because they're not a super suave, charming guy. Like, come on, right? Gaming's an escape, but a lot of these outlets, they just don't really get that, I think. What's funny is... I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'll bring it up now, since we're talking about single-player games. So IGN gave Lego Batman, the new one, an 8 out of 10. Now, I think an 8 out of 10 is a very good score. Like, I'm one of those people, I think 7 out of 10s, I think that's a good score. It's just too many people look at a 7 as a big no-no. What people found out is that the same reviewer that gave that an 8 gave Mixtape a 10. Now, I talked about Mixtape last week, and look, I think it's perfectly fine to have like those types of games around, quote unquote walking sims, like The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. I always forget the other one by that same developer. What was that called?
Edith Finch.
Yeah, that one.
That one is heartbreaking. So good though.
Yeah, great game though. But that is also like a walking sim. And, like, my point still stands that I think that you have some of these games, and this isn't a dog on Mixtape. I think Mixtape's really good. But I feel like you have these pretentious journalists that couldn't get into politics because they weren't smart enough, and they didn't cover movies because they were also not smart enough. So maybe some of them got into gaming, and, they went to places like IGN and other outlets, and then they give a game that has next to no gameplay a higher score because, well, they can be all pretentious about it. That's just my opinion. It's just the vibe I get. But, like, we see these from, like, a bunch of different outlets, right? Another reason why an outlet might give a game a short score, or small score, should I say, I honestly think they just do it to get clicks, right?
100%.
You'll have like a really big new game come out, and let's say it gets 10s across the board, and you'll have this one outlet that'll give a game a 6, right? The weird outlier. And you have two groups of people that go there. You have people that want to defend the game, and you have people that want to go there to bash the media outlet, and sometimes both. And I feel like we see that more than ever before. It's happening all the time. Like, look, Grand Theft Auto. When's that come out? 19th of November. It's going to do well, right? But I guarantee that you're going to see a couple of outlets that they will take the risk, and they might actually give GTA a lower score because they know they will get heat. Heat means clicks. Like, how many people are realistically going to IGN's website and, reading the reviews? They just see a number. That's what all these websites do. People just expect you to go there, and they don't read the review. They look at the number. That's why you never see photos of actual sentences from the review. It's just the number. So we're going to see the same with GTA. We're going to see the same with, The Blood of Dawn Walker later this year and a bunch of other games. It's a shame, but, man, it's kind of heartbreaking because these developers put a crap load of time into these games. And whether it's a walking sim or a big 3D open world RPG, they all deserve their fair shake, and I feel like some of these reviewers, they kind of crap on the games a little bit, But look, you mentioned the Xbox thing. Xbox, they trying to turn around. They're actually trying, right? And then you have Polygon put out an article like that. Like, it's shameful, really. But, I mean, at some point in the future, we're going to see more of these websites shut down. I don't like seeing people get out of work. But if you're a gamer, there's a chance that you don't like a lot of these media outlets. Like, I know it's not just me. Logan, back to Bond. Are you looking forward to it?
Oh yeah, of course. I'm really looking forward to it. It looks awesome. Like I love the James Bond games growing up, GoldenEye, World's Not Enough, Nightfire, all those. So I'm looking forward to it, and it'll be nice to see a modern take on it, see kind of where they go with it as like a young agent, earning his, 007 medal. And I trust IO. They clearly know how to make an assassin game.
Yep.
So who better to handle James Bond? So yeah, I'm stoked for it. And the soundtrack is gonna be killer. Lana Del Rey
Oh
knocked
yeah.
it out of the park. So good stuff.
It's kind of ironic how Lana Del Rey actually wanted to do a Bond song, and now she gets to. um,
Hey, and she did a video game song. So it's perfect.
yeah. But yeah, that comes out very soon. I think a lot of people are going to love Bond, and like I've said before, I go into a year and try and predict what my game of the year will be. I've always thought it was going to be 007, right? Because that's the kind of game I like. And by the way, as a Splinter Cell fan, let me tell you, we have next to nothing to look forward to. There's no third-person stealth games, none. I'm starving for third-person stealth games. We just don't get them because Ubisoft clearly forgot that they own the Splinter Cell franchise. So 007 for me, yeah. And the best thing about Bond is that you're going to be able to play it through different ways. So go through stealth, go through all-out action. They've showed it in the trailers. There's some over-the-top action set pieces in the game. Some of which that actually remind me of Saints Row. But I think people are going to love that game. And what can I say? I think Mina the Hollower. I think, Logan, didn't you tell me about that game?
Yeah, the one with the mouse and it's from Shovel Knight people. Yeah.
Yeah, that game looks cool as well. Again, indie games, AAA games. It's a bloody good year for gaming. This is why I don't like the whole like forced negativity stuff in the game media. Like every article you see is just pushed to be like clickbaity. It's all to get clicks. It's never like talking about the games now, which is why I like to dedicate the first half or so of this show to talking about games, because my god, there's so much to look forward to this year. The fact that we have a Bond game coming out is mind blowing to me. I honestly thought we would never get another Bond game until this recent one was announced, because the whole licenses, that's all up in the air. Oh, by the way, speaking of licenses, bit of a off topic. I don't know if you saw this, Logan. Did you know that the music licenses for mixtape run in perpetuity?
Yes, and that is brilliant, and that is exactly the kind of thinking that I've been wanting the industry to start adapting to. Turns out the people behind the game also had um, experience with the music industry to
Yep.
begin with and other media, so they knew how to negotiate a contract to allow something to stay afloat and stay listed. And I'm like, thank you. Someone finally gets it. We need more of that instead of, oh, well, that song on the radio on one obscure radio station in the game, and now we have to remove the game from digital storefronts. Too bad, so sad. Like, really? Come on. Like, more of this, please. Kudos to them.
Yep. And there has been a lot of talk about the whole the game is kind of backed by this billionaire. And like I think people should take away what you just said, right? We need more games that have permanent, music licenses. We don't see, The Martian from 2014 being pulled from, Amazon because they have to change out a song. Just stuff like that. It should be the same for video games. How many games in the past have been delisted because of a song? Like, look at Alan Wake, right? Alan Wake was delisted a couple of years ago because of like two songs, and then Remedy, they relicensed the music, and they put up the remaster and they put up the 360 version again. So like this is a good move. I hope more developers push for this, because and I know music licenses cost a lot. I know one of the people that worked on Grand Theft Auto 3 talked about how much these songs cost. Like 20 years ago, a song would have cost like 10 grand. Now it's upwards of 100 grand for a song. Um, but man, hey, if a developer can afford it, and if especially with mixtape, you have a game that's about music. Like, look, think about it like this: if Guitar Hero 2 did this back in the day, we would have it backwards compatible.
Yeah, yeah, imagine if that yeah, it seems like total sense that you would do a music game that's music focused in perpetuity for the songs. Like, I wonder if that's how they got um Brutal Legend to be backwards compatible
Oh yeah,
and uplisted, because you want to talk about licensed music. That game is filled to the brim with licensed stuff and performances and cameos and all this other stuff. Like, you want to talk about a licensed nightmare game? That one is one, yet they got it done. So it
yeah,
makes me wonder if that they did the same thing for that one.
yeah. That's a good point. I think people often forget like how much licensed music Brutal Legend had. Like you've got Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Pearl Jam, um, basically everyone. I think Metallica's in there as well. Like everyone's in there, and yeah, that's available. And it's a 360 game. So, um, by the way, if Double Fine ever decides to make a sequel, and I say this as an RTS fan, just drop the RTS stuff.
Yes, 100%. Please. Like, the whole third act change of
Yeah,
gameplay threw everything off.
like I remember. I think I got that for Christmas when it came out or something. And I remember playing and think this is a cool action adventure. And then it hits a certain point where it's like, okay, by the way, you've enjoyed the game up to now. Let's change genres. It's like I bought this game or got it to, play it as a rocker in a single player action adventure game. I didn't want to control armies of the undead, you know. As
Or
cool as that
song.
sounds, it was a bit much. But hey, music licenses. Bond's gonna have a bunch of licensed music, obviously. But hey, we'll see what happens. Let's see what we got next. Now, oh god, we still have a ton of topics. So this is a cool feature. So Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced comes out in 2 months. The game looks phenomenal. And I swear these developers, they are paying attention to everything everyone says online, because someone will make a post saying they don't like this about the game or they haven't seen this, and then the developer will literally post footage a day or two later debunking this or proving that it's in the game. So for instance, and I think a lot of people would like this, in Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, and this isn't huge news, but if you take screenshots and record gameplay like me, then it's kind of big. You're going to be able to press one button, and the whole UI goes away. Now, as someone that likes to take screenshots, sometimes not even in photo mode, let me tell you, I love that. I love being able to remove the HUD to take screenshots. For instance, in The Witcher 3 didn't have a photo mode at launch. Um, in fact, I don't think it got one until its Xbox Series upgrade. But with that, to take a picture without the UI, you had to go into the settings and disable everything one by one. Or if you pressed the back button and timed your screenshot correctly, you could take a single frame. I'm not even kidding, a single frame of footage without the HUD. How do I know that? Because I used to use it. You had to time it perfectly. But yeah, I just thought it's cool that, Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, they actually paying attention to what everyone's saying. The fact that, you can go diving without using the bell in certain areas. Like, everything about it, being able to pull your HUD up and down whenever you want. Crouch. I talked about crouch for 2 years, thinking it was nothing, or maybe I was overreacting. Turns out I was right, and everyone listened, because we can crouch in the game. Doesn't sound like a big thing if you're not an Assassin's Creed fan, but trust me, if you're playing a stealth game and you're just walking around, it feels weird. But yeah, the developers are listening, and the game looks fantastic. Next up, we have, okay, Logan, I don't know if you saw this, and I think a lot of people in chat are going to love this, because we talk about the length of games and how long it takes to make games almost every week. I think both of us have become very frustrated with how games are taking long to make. If you play a game now that you really enjoy, you might not see a sequel for another 10 years, right? It's the unfortunate reality of game development at the minute. Whatever reasons we want to say, games are taking a long time to make. And every game being 100 hours long doesn't make sense. Like Crimson Desert, right? I've put maybe 25 hours into Crimson Desert, and let me tell you, I can probably see myself putting 100 plus hours into this. That feels like a game that should be that long. But I feel like a lot of games are very bloated and they don't need to be that long. Like Metal Gear Solid 5 is a perfect example. That could have been a 20-hour game, but it's like 50 plus hours, you know. So anyway, Casey Hudson, my boy, the creator of Mass Effect. I'm unbiased with this topic, obviously. Who's basically making Fate of the Old Republic, came out and said like these games, these RPGs, they don't need to be 100 hours long. If you look at KOTOR, if you look at Mass Effect, they're essentially 50-hour games max.
And they were perfect.
Yeah, perfect. And like, I don't think I ever played KOTOR and thought this needed to be another 60 hours long. Perfect length. Same with Mass Effect. Unbiased opinion here. Same with Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. So that leads me to believe, okay, Fate of the Old Republic is going to be another 30 to 50-hour game. Bloody lovely. Also, not open world. Bloody lovely. But the big takeaway is that he said these games taking 5 to 7 years to make is kind of unacceptable. Chef's kiss. Because I'm so sick and tired of playing a game, enjoying it, and I know in the back of my mind, if this game does well, I'm not seeing another sequel till the next generation, and I hate that. And it looks like that he wants to get the game out before 2030, and they really want to get game development out. He doesn't want to have hundreds and hundreds of people. He wants to work with like close knit teams, and that reminded me of that's how games used to be made during the 7th generation. That's how we got games like multiple sequels in a generation. Like, you never heard of game development teams outside of Rockstar having like 5, 6, 7, 800 people. But now that's the norm. And you have Casey Hudson, you have the biggest game announcement at the Game Awards, and it was like the second game shown there. And he's saying all the right things. So, like, yes, obviously, no lie, I'm completely biased when it comes to this topic. But the fact that, the game length thing has been addressed, and the fact that he doesn't want to have 5 to 7 year game development cycles. Like, I think 4 years is a long time, but I think 4 years is really understandable and acceptable because, like, we don't need every game to be open world. We don't need every game to be 100 hours long. And I think 4 years, you're getting, a sequel in a generation? I think that's fine. Logan, what do you think? Because we do talk about, game length and also dev time a lot because, we both 7th gen fans specifically. What's your take from what Casey Hudson said? Because to me, that's all the right things.
Yeah, I mean, like you, I'm biased about Casey, obviously. Like, that man is a legend to me. Like, he is one of the people I respect the most in the entire gaming industry. Like, you create Knights of the Old Republic, which I consider Star Wars gospel, basically. It is like, to this day, like, Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 from Obsidian, to me, are like the best Star Wars stories out there outside of like the original films and like prequels and stuff like that. Like, they are like probably maybe the single best stories and worlds and characters. They're just phenomenal.
Yep.
Love them. And just like, and he knows clearly how to make these worlds, these characters, this lore, and these, all this stuff where there's deep, living, breathing universes between the coders and the Mass Effects. Yet, they don't outstay their welcome either. He found the magical Goldilocks zone. Like, he's talk about that all the time for, like, planet being habitable or not, but like he has found that for games, like the Goldilocks zone of like, okay, we have a ton of content that you want to engage in and experience, yet you don't feel like, okay, I am just being sent on meaningless tasks over and over and over again to deal with sewer rats or deliver some lady her mail or some mindless fetch stuff. It's like everything has purpose, and it works, and they truly understand the hub world concept. Like, there have been few experiences I've enjoyed as much in gaming as talking with my companions on the Ebon Hawk, or the Normandy, or in Dragon Age with the fortress, like stuff like that, these hub based things. And they allow you to have this fully immersed experience that's isolated, yet you also can then go to a planet, like go to Nar Shaddaa, go to Corbin, go to, you know, um, wherever in Mass Effect, the Citadel. And it's like, wow, these feel fully alive and in depth and big set pieces too, but they don't outstay their scale, and you can also go to other places. It's like a way to balance the old school linear gameplay of like an FPS, where it's like, okay, I've got my snow mission, I've got my desert mission, I got my jungle mission, I got the biomes basically. And I just I fully trust what he's doing, and I agree, like, especially about the timing of game development. Like, frankly, the way games are developed today are franchise killers. Just point blank blunt. Like, how are you going to expect to build a franchise or a brand awareness or whatever if you make this awesome game, you finally get it out the door, people love it, and then you tell them, you know, it's gonna be 7 years ish till you get the sequel. By the time 7 years comes around, it's like, I don't know. You hope the fans are still dedicated and hardcore for it, but a lot happens in that time, and you got to keep it center of mind. And again, seventh and sixth gen, we had all the Star Wars games. We had all these Gears of War games, Mass Effects, Bioshocks, GTAs. They all came out in a good cadence, and they built up goodwill. And now you're lucky if you get two games in a series within the same generation. It's absolutely ridiculous and asinine mismanagement. And you want to talk about TV being ridiculous with you get 8 episodes of a TV show now
Yeah.
and you have to wait 2 years to get another 8 episodes. I remember watching shows that had 20 plus episodes all the time, even if they were a half hour. It was at least, you know, we got content on a consistent basis. And I'd much rather have some filler episodes of a show than, okay, 8 meaty episodes and then see ya in a few years. Like, I don't know. Enough's enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to think, in the 7th gen, we had 3 Batman Arkham games, 4 Gears of War games. There were, I think there was 2 God of War games that generation. Yeah, there was 3 in Ascension. There was 3 Uncharted's. There was technically 3 Dragon Age games that generation. 3 Bioshocks. Um, you know, 8 Rockstar games. like, you had multiple good Battlefield games. It's crazy, man. And now, the just the time taken in between. Like, look at the time between Alien Isolation and the sequel, which we still don't have a release date for. Crazy. Um, I
I
just
think
think,
2015 is when it came out,
yeah,
the original one.
I think
So,
so.
yeah.
And here we are, 11 years later. Uh, yeah, 4 Halo games, technically 5. But like, we had just so many games, so many. And I'm looking at my shelf right now. There's probably some obscure franchise. 4 Saints Row games. We had 2 Grand Theft Auto games. One of those had 2 expansions. Let's see. We had peak Assassin's Creed. You know, let's see. You know, but even like the Rockstar Games thing, right? We had Red Dead Redemption, we had LA Noire, Grand Theft Auto 5, Grand Theft Auto 4. You had the table tennis game. You had Midnight Club. I think it was Midnight Club Los Angeles. Um, I'm probably forgetting a couple. I'm pretty sure they came out with a bunch of other games as well. Off the top of my head, I can't think. But like, we had so many games by these developers. It's crazy. And now it's like, look, I'm looking forward to that Bond game. Can't wait for it. But if that does really well, and I'm sure it will, when do we get the sequel? 2031? Ouch. You know, when do we get Fallout 5? When do we get Starfield 2? Yeah, like kind of where.
Here's the joke: you don't.
Yeah, and the even the scarier one. When's Grand Theft Auto 7? My God,
Oh gosh.
like I
When
dread.
they can direct deposit shark cards to your house.
Yeah, like I really don't want to think like how old we will all be when Grand Theft Auto 7 comes out. Um, I bet that's going to skip a generation as well. So Helix, PlayStation 6, no, that's going to be the generation after that. You know, hopefully we'll have holodecks by then. But my God, dev time. But you know, look, Casey Hudson, he's saying all the right things. I love hub world game design. It feels purposeful. It feels more unique, which is why this isn't me dogging on Andromeda again, but like I feel like it going open world really set the game back a bit. You know, like hell back then, with a lot of games you would get a single player game, and and a lot of people would call it a tacked on multiplayer mode, but it's still you had a bunch of content, and we were getting expansions all the time for these games. Like when I told my friend, who's probably listening right now, he loves Fallout. Fallout 4 is one of his favorite games of all time. When I told him that we had 5 expansions for Fallout 3 in 8 months, he couldn't believe us. Like we had all of that content, all of that Fallout content, and it was less than a year. But like now, you wait for years for expansions now. Like what? Doom: The Dark Ages came out last May, and we're meant to be getting the expansion later this year. Now I think it's going to be cool. It's meant to be a very big expansion, but man, it's like games are taking too long to make. Expansions we get less than ever before, and like maybe I'm a bit sour. I know Grand Theft Auto 6 isn't going to get single player expansions, so I'm going to have to wait another 17 years for a new Grand Theft Auto experience, you know. But anyway, Casey Hudson, he's saying all the right things, and I'm sure when Fate of the Old Republic comes out, it's going to be a smash hit. And, you know, hub world game design is king. But then again, I'm completely biased. Anyway, let's see what we've got next. You know what? We'll talk about... Oh, Logan, you mentioned this. This is actually related to Star Wars. So, now, this is a bit heartbreaking news for Star Wars game fans. So, Dave Filoni originally wanted basically a sequel to Star Wars: The Old Republic, and apparently it was like a very well thought out pitched idea, and EA turned it down. Now, The Old Republic came out, I want to say 2012. I think it was somewhere around then, 2011, 2012. You know, it has some of the best cinematics of all time. My God, watch those in 4K on YouTube. Chef's kiss. But it is an MMO. It never came to consoles. It's one of the few remaining big MMOs that isn't on console. Shame on you, EA. And they were wanting a sequel to that, and EA turned it down, and that's mind blowing because you know that was around about the time when MMOs were popping off again, and Star Wars is a hot commodity, especially in the video game space right now. And to turn that down, so shameful. You know, yes, the Old Republic has been basically, you know, fished out to a different studio, but man, this is such a shame to see because, like, I would have loved to have seen, because if that came out, we probably would have seen it on consoles. You know, a lot of new MMOs are coming to console. Albion Online just came to console. So, Logan, what's your take? Because I know you would have loved this.
Yeah, I was pretty irritated about this reveal. Like, basically, a former director at BioWare revealed why he left the studio was because basically he had himself talked with Dave Filoni, Kathleen Kennedy, like the powers that be at Lucasfilm at the time, and gotten universal support for this project. They loved it. They had given it the green light. They thought it was well written, good idea. It was going to be set in like a New Republic or High Republic. This was before High Republic was a thing. Like, so they had called it New Republic kind of era. And he had universal approval, and then he went to the board, and EA's board said no. And because that's what EA's board does. So, yeah, just another Star Wars game that we find out years later is in EA's graveyard in the back, along with, Project Orca and Battlefront 3 and all these other things that, my gosh, that EA deal was a disaster. It gets worse all the time.
Yeah.
Like, why did they make a solo deal with EA for a while? Just astronomically dumb decision. And thankfully, more studios are making Star Wars games again. But I may never get over it. The whole we will sign an exclusivity deal with EA for Star Wars. Like, just why?
Yeah, I mean, look, that whole exclusivity deal with Star Wars, I think that did damage to the brand.
100%.
Like you had the whole debacle with Battlefront 2 and its microtransactions, where apparently, allegedly, like people at Disney phoned EA and said like, "Hey, look, this isn't good." You know, when they were trying to bring back Star Wars into movies, and now you have like how many games have they cancelled? A bunch. Fun fact: the only reason we're getting single player content from EA now is because Jedi Survivor popped off. Sorry, Jedi Fallen Order. Right? If that didn't do as well as it did, over 10 million copies for it. I think it did 14 million copies for a single player game with no microtransactions. That's why we have single player content from EA now. But like they had exclusive rights for Star Wars, and that's crazy. No one else could put out any games. And what did they put out in that time? Star Wars Battlefront 1 didn't have a campaign. Star Wars Battlefront 2 had a short campaign, and they botched the launch. You have Star Wars Squadrons, which I think is good, but it had no support, and Jedi Fallen Order, which is brilliant. Clearly, it succeeded. We're getting a third one. But like, if you have the exclusive rights to a whole franchise, I want to see you putting out 2 games a year. Doesn't have to be big. I want 2 games a year. Like Ubisoft has always been one of my top picks to make an open world Star Wars game. And like we could have had multiple open world games from them, but they couldn't. THQ could have made some weird racing game. Thankfully we are getting Star Wars Galactic Racer this year. By the way, this year is actually good for Star Wars games. We have Star Wars Galactic Racer, the Star Wars Zero Company. There's meant to be another Star Wars tactical game coming out, and also Star Wars Jedi Survivor 3 is meant to be announced next month. So, hey, hope these games do well, but hopefully more studios, actively, make games with the IP, because man, EA did nothing with that IP, and it's such a shame because if you go back to E3 2013, I think it was, when they showed off the AT-AT walking in the snow and it said Star Wars Battlefront, people lost their minds because everyone thought we were going to get Battlefield but with Star Wars, and we didn't get that. And I played Battlefront. That was a fun game, but my god, it was lacking so much. You can tell it was hobbled together last minute with duct tape and chewing gum because it had no content at all. Beautiful game, but that's where it ended. But man, thankfully other developers can make that stuff now. But yeah, it's such a shame about the Old Republic and its spin-off that I could have. I think EA should absolutely still bring, or whoever owns the full rights to the Old Republic now, bring it to console. There's plenty of MMOs on console. There's a market for it. Like, I am kind of against subscriptions for MMOs, but I'm not gonna lie, I think I would cave. if that came to console. I think it would do really well. Anyway, let's move on. You know what? Oh my god. Okay, Stellar Blade 2. So Stellar Blade 2 is meant to also be coming to Xbox. The developer once again pointed out how they're not pursuing a partnership with Sony. A lot of people, including myself, want the first game on Xbox, and it looks like we probably will. My guess is we're going to see an announcement this summer because they want to expand that first game to more platforms. And honestly, I think it'll do really well. A lot of people have been wanting that game on Xbox for a very long time, and there's a huge market for it. Logan, I know you've wanted this game as well. Do you think we'll see the first game on Xbox before the inevitable sequel?
Yes. I would say there's a good likelihood that it comes to Xbox. Like I wanted it, so I went ahead and bought the certain edition with all the expansions and stuff off Steam for my Xbox Ally X. But if they make a native, which I think they will for Xbox, I will buy that 100%.
Yeah.
And I love that game, Near Automata, just like those crazy frenetic sci-fi games, and it's a really cool game, story wise, character wise, lore wise. Um so and it's just a bummer about how Project Eve was handled to begin with. So I want it on Xbox, and it will, I think.
Yeah. It is crazy how that game was actually announced for Xbox, and then poof, it's just gone.
It's like suddenly finding out how to make a game work on the console exactly a year later. It's just miraculous timing.
Yeah. But hey, I, I do think when it comes to Stellar Blade, we will see something this year. Kind of makes sense. It does look like they had the body model in for motion capture. At least that's the theory at the studio. But hey, I'm looking forward to it. As people know, I love sci-fi games, and honestly, I don't think we get enough. I get it might be a bit annoying how I always talk about needing sci-fi games, but realistically, I've got nothing. Like I still have Pragmata to play. I'm sure I'm gonna love, but my God, like AAA, double A, like indie games, I feels like sci-fi games we just don't get enough. If you want a
Hey,
fantasy game,
I
sorry, what were you saying?
oh, sorry. I was just completely agreeing with you. I was like, I'm 100% in your camp. Like, I want more sci-fi games, and people probably think I'm a psycho, but I want more horror games too. So,
Yeah,
like, I totally get how there are certain genres that don't get as much love as they should.
yeah. Honestly, before we change topics, I want to say I think the reason we get fantasy more than anything, I think it's just cheaper to make games that aren't set in space or
Hey, trees,
yeah.
rats. Yeah.
Yeah, if honestly, if I'm loving Crimson Desert, so this might be a bit hypocritical, because I love Crimson Desert, it's great. But my God, if I play one more game with a dragon in a cave, I'm gonna lose it. Like, I want spaceships, I want laser beams. Is it too much? I think that's one of the reasons why I liked Final Fantasy VII Remake so much. It's sci-fi, and it just works. And it's like, I hope to God the next Final Fantasy game is also sci-fi, because I can't take elves and something one more time. I just can't. You know what? I will live stream when the next Final Fantasy game is announced, and people can watch me have a full-on mental breakdown when I see, caves and elves and stuff. It will happen, and it'll be funny. But
Nature is reclaiming the world, Jamie.
oh my God, I swear to God, one more time, like I will lose it. More sci-fi. That's all I want. You know what? We'll talk about this quickly. So, by the way, we're about an hour into the show. If you're enjoying it, please hit like, share, and subscribe. I hate doing these little ads, but it actually does help the channel grow, and the algorithm does pay attention to the likes. So liking the video is greatly appreciated. Super chats are open if you want to support the channel and all that stuff, and I'll read all that stuff out and add topics to the show if you want. But anyway, let's talk about Grand Theft Auto, because people this past week have been going absolutely nuts online. And I was trying to figure out why. Now, obviously, we don't have Best Buys in the UK. So it turns out Best Buy had basically emailed people to let them know that they're going to be able to pre-order Grand Theft Auto 6 sometime this week, and it never happened. Obviously, people listening, if you live in the US, I know most people watch the show from the US. Be careful when you open these emails because there's dodgy people out there, and they'll send all sorts. Um, I think people go nuts for the Grand Theft Auto 6 pre-order thing because they expected a new trailer. You know, as soon as pre-orders go live, there's obviously going to be a new trailer. I say this: people need to stop pre-ordering games. Right? There's no advantage to pre-ordering a video game unless one reason: you're getting a physical collector's edition. That's the only reason, right? Pre-ordering games makes no sense. So people looking forward to pre-orders. If you want a new trailer, I get it. But my God in heaven, they aren't going to run out of digital copies. As far as I know, that's not possible. It probably isn't on Steam for some reason with MMOs or whatever. But my point is, look, we're going to find out about Grand Theft Auto soon. It's still scheduled to come out in November. Rockstar doesn't want to do a huge marketing splash like they did with 5. At least that's what it looks like. It'll be ready when it's ready. Logan, I've not really talked about this with you. Are you at all bothered or like hyped about GTA 6?
Um, I'll play it. Like, I mean, that's about the biggest answer I can give. Is like, I'll play it. I'll probably enjoy it. But to be honest, GTA was never like the biggest thing for me. Like, I enjoyed them growing up playing them, and putting the cheats in and getting tanks, or driving around in all these crazy vehicles, plowing through areas, or all the different just funny combinations you could do. Going bowling with your cousin Roman, all that stuff. But like, they were never just like must haves, or um just like, I have to experience this to understand the world games. To me personally, I know that might be blasphemous to some, and I'm sorry. I don't mean it that way, but it just, to me, it has never been the be all end all that it is for so many other people. I'll enjoy it. I'll get it. I'll play it. I'll probably have a few laughs because of how absurd and ridiculous it is, and I'll enjoy driving the fancy exotic car I wish I could have in real life. But overall, I'm just kind of, I'm I'm positive or tepid on it. Like, I'm definitely not a, I will gladly pay $100 for this game, and let
Yeah.
me tell you why you should too. I'm definitely not in that camp.
Yeah, to the people that will say. By the way, I've heard other content creators mention this, how like they are willing to spend $100 on the game, and like I sort of just cringe at it because like you're sending the wrong message. Like you're telling these
It's like,
people,
rob me,
yeah,
rob me.
and it's like we live in a world where we complain about Netflix going up in price, hardware going up in price, but we'll say we'll pay $100 for Grand Theft Auto. It drives me bonkers. Like, why? Why would you tell a company? Why would you tell Take Two of any company that you want to pay them more? It blows my mind. And look, this game, I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm looking forward to it. I do miss when we used to get more than one Grand Theft Auto a generation. But like, when this game comes out, and if you only like playing single player games, because if you're like me, and for people that don't know, I used to be addicted to GTA Online, literally addicted. And then I stopped playing because I was like, this isn't good for me, right? And I came to realize it's hollow content. A lot of the content in the multiplayer seemed to me like they took what was going to be single player expansions and spread it out into multiplayer slop, right? So you have shark cards that are making $1 billion a month or something like that, or might be yeah, I think it was like $1 million a day, something absurd. And you have GTA 5, which is still like chart number 1 sometimes in the UK. By the way, I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. There's people in the UK that will buy new copies of that game so they get a shark card cheaper. So like,
That's Degenerate behavior.
Oh yeah. So whenever someone says there's 250 million players for Grand Theft Auto 5, there isn't. I know for a fact there isn't. It's an inflated number. Uh, but I do think that when 6 comes out, I think that's going to hit like 25 million copies in the first week. It's going to do really well. It's just, my God in heaven, stop telling people you want to spend $100 on games. This is absurd. And then there's people in the UK, Australia, and Canada. We're absolutely screwed in that scenario because most companies don't do regional pricing. So we would be charged £100, which is like $130. Please, no. Don't do it. Don't say it on social media. Don't say it, and I don't care if it's going to be the only game you buy that year. Do not tell them you want to pay a penny more than 60. I still think 60 is too much for games. I think 50. I think 50 is perfectly fine. And I will die on that hill. Games should not cost that much. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's see what we got next. Okay, Forza Horizon time. So Forza Horizon 6 is doing really well. It just came out today. Actually, I'll go over the Xbox numbers first. So on Xbox in the UK, where we are a big racing country, the £110 version was number 2 on the Xbox store, with Minecraft at number 1. That's fair. That happens fairly often in the UK with Minecraft. Someone typically buys a console and they get Minecraft. But the £110 version was number 2, and I believe the £80 version was number 3 or 4. So, like, before release, people are spending over £100 on this game, and it's charting. And it came out today, and it's had, I'll have to check again, I think it was somewhere around 260,000 concurrent players on Steam for a racing game. Like, I've never heard those numbers before. Okay, I've got the numbers here. So today it reached 273,000 concurrent players on Steam. That is crazy. It's a racing game, which people normally shrug off and just say it's just a racing game. But like, when I've been trying to tell people this is a tentpole thing for Microsoft, it's a big release. And I'm happy to see it do well. People have been wanting Japan since the beginning. I remember thinking in like 2012 or whatever, thinking, wouldn't it be cool if they go to Japan? And here we are. And yeah, the game looks great, performs great, and it's super fun, obviously. And it's just doing so well. It's breaking records. And again, it's a racing game. I'll have to check on Steam, but I think it might actually be the most successful racing game I've ever seen on Steam. And it just goes to show, people will buy games if they're in Game Pass. They will buy first-party games, and they'll definitely buy racing games. Logan, obviously we're going to be talking about exclusives in a bit, but these are huge numbers for a racing game.
Yeah, it like, if you go into the numbers, it really speaks to several ideas to me. Like, one, like, unfortunately, because we just talked about the GTA thing, it does encourage that idea, because it's like, see that you have 270 something thousand people, like, shelling out the 100 or 80 something dollars for this version. Of course, to be fair, it is to get it early with some additional content that deserves a preface, but still, like, it does encourage that. So that's one part of the equation. Another thing is racing is clearly alive and well in a mainstream genre now. It is no longer just niche. Those are not niche numbers by any stretch of the imagination. And it is clearly eclipsed the original Forza Motorsport as like the flagship, like, racer 100% for Microsoft Xbox, which I think it has been for a while, but I mean, it's like indisputable now. Like, and like Asha even tweeted about it, but I know you and me rag on Metacritic from time to time about people's obsession with it, but it's still a mark you can look at. That they are one of the few studios ever to have 4 consecutive 91 plus rated games. That is nuts. That's like psycho behavior, like levels of success. It's incredible. and clearly it's popping off. Japan is a huge setting. I saw like guys that aren't even into big racing games, like Yoko Toro from Nier Automata, and like several other people are like, you know what? I might need to get an Xbox for this game, or get this because of how well they've represented Japan, not and its culture, not just the cars themselves. And it's really good. They should be proud of themselves. Playground is an S tier studio, and this should make you even more encouraged on a side note for Fable. Like, you see what they're doing? Like, they're they're kicking and taking names. They're doing awesome job. I'm excited to try it out and play it. And yeah, just and this is for the early numbers. Imagine when everybody jumps in on Xbox. I'm excited, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah, like racing games are alive and well. The funny thing is, like, I always say racing games do well in the UK. Need for Speed has kind of gone downhill. Let's be honest, over the past decade. You know, so like fun arcadey races. I'm doing air quotes. We don't really get a lot of big ones now. You'll have some like action ones, and you'll have sim races like Assetto Corsa. But like when it comes to games like this, you have what the Crew, Motorfest, and Forza Horizon. Basically, the only games in this genre, and people clearly love Forza Horizon. They've nailed the Japan setting. The map is beautiful. People will be like I put it this: I've spent maybe half the time I've played the game in photo mode. so,
Those
um,
cherry blossoms are beautiful, man.
yeah, it's a beautiful game. And like you mentioned with the Metacritic thing, I don't give two, f's about Metacritic. I don't. I think too many people focus on it, but a lot of these studios sometimes their bonuses are tied to Metacritic. And to have like multiple entries in a row, like 4 entries in a row in the 90s is crazy. And this is a racing game. There's no super heavy plot. There's no tear jerk moments, but they're coming out later this year with an RPG. And if they can somehow get a 90 rated Metacritic, and I think it's going to be a tall ask for them because, people will look at them think they are a racing studio. A lot of people working on Fable have actually worked on things like the Arkham games, Red Dead Redemption, God of War, and I think there's some Shadow of Mordor people working on that game as well. And also you've got Eidos Montreal helping making the game. So like a lot of single player talent is working on that. So we'll see what happens. But man, if they can get Fable out and it's perfect, again, it's a tall ask. Like they'll be proven once again that they're one of the best studios in the industry. Because I feel like if you make a racing game, even if it does well, people just look at them as a racing game developer, which I think is a bit sad. They clearly know what they're doing. Fable that comes out later this year, it's clearly ambitious. But man, Playground Games, they keep proving people wrong, and I just love to see it. And seeing them succeed is great. Seeing another British studio have success like this, I love it. Playground Games have been around for a while now, and they consistently have big hits. I know that people are trying to guess where the next setting for the next, Forza Horizon game is going to be. I think it's a bit too early to talk about that stuff. This game's going to be supported for a long time. These games typically get 2 big expansions. Like I was saying when the show opened up, like I think they'll do some anime stuff. Logan, do you have any ideas what they might do for an expansion in the future?
If I had to guess, they would lean into like the bizarro, like more eccentric parts of Japanese culture and like go full on with mechs
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that. Or like you could totally have like a dream state mission with, like all kinds of just outs, or there's so much stuff you could do with Japan setting. Like it's literally your imagination is the limit. So I think whatever it is will be great.
yeah. I still think Dragon Ball Z something would pop off. I think Dragon Ball Z probably the biggest get for like an anime centric expansion. They're gonna go crazy. I mean, people have seen that race already in the game with the mech. I never thought I'd see a Forza game where you race a mech. But that's bloody beautiful. That's so beautiful. But I love the fact that we can get some crazy stuff in this game, and people thought we would never see Hot Wheels back with Forza Horizon 3. So, in my opinion, I thought Forza Horizon 3 was the best one. I loved that game. Yes, the UK setting for 4 was perfect for me, but there's something about driving around Australia, and then you had the Hot Wheels expansion. For me, man, that was incredible. 4 also.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah,
I remember the Lamborghini on the cover, and
yeah,
just, oh, it was a gorgeous game.
yeah. And 4. I mean, we had the UK. If anything, I thought it was more entertaining to see Greg's was in the game. And for people that don't know, Greg's is a bakery. My God, I love Greg's. But yeah, Forza Horizon 6, it's popping off. Love to see it. And Playground Games, they're knocking out the park. It will be interesting to see what that game's going to be like long term, because we obviously don't know the exclusivity time for it, but Forza Horizon typically has a lifespan of like 3 years ish, because they sell like car packs and all that stuff. So like, I think that even if it does go to other platforms in the future, which we're going to talk about exclusives in a minute, I think that shouldn't go to PlayStation in general for at least 2 years, because they have to sell microtransactions and all that stuff. Like, Forza having a lifespan of 1 year on a console doesn't make sense. But hey, we'll see. Let's see what we've got next. My God, we've still got like half the topics to go. You know what? We'll talk about the PlayStation stuff, because this literally just happened, and I think it kind of affects Xbox in the long run. So PlayStation decided to raise the prices of all their PlayStation subscriptions. I think it works out $3 extra per month. I'll have to double check, but yeah, it's unfortunate. Another thing going up. Look, Xbox has raised their prices of consoles and subscriptions. Nintendo, they're going to raise the price of their Switches. I think this month in the US. I think it may have already happened in the UK. But this is just another thing of these companies. And by the way, whenever these companies say it's to mitigate all the changes in the industry and stuff, I think that's BS. I think it's these
CYA, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's complete BS. I think these companies just try and push how much they can get out of us. Like, look at Game Pass. I think Game Pass is the best, most valuable subscription service on the planet. But when they raised the price, I called it out. I said it was terrible raising the price for features that maybe a lot of us don't use. Like, Logan, I know for a fact you don't play Fortnite. Have you used that Fortnite Battle Pass?
Nope, I have never played a match in my life of Fortnite, so I definitely have not used that. Nor have I dabbled much with the Ubisoft thing, because I've owned most of those anyway.
Exactly. Like, I talk about Ubisoft all the time. I own almost every single game Ubisoft's made. So
it's literally a nothing burger for me. It's like,
yeah.
what is this?
And thankfully they did bring the price back down, and I think the price as it's at now is fine. But PlayStation raising the price, and then the consoles a couple of weeks ago. I mean, look, it's not a good look. And look, I think Microsoft pushing to be like a stronger brand will actually make PlayStation better. Maybe they'll bring, if Xbox's plans play out, and we'll talk about the exclusive thing in a minute. Like, if their plans play out and they sell millions and millions of more consoles, and like the Helix does really well out the gate, they get more Japanese support, more Chinese support, and like that'll push PlayStation to bring down their prices. Right? I full-heartedly believe that these companies, they will learn from this stuff, and each company pushing each other benefits us all. But it is a bit of a shame that people on PlayStation, they're getting charged again for a service. I will talk about this quickly, because I've seen other people bring it up in different shows, and someone brought it up last week on here. The age verification thing. Now, I don't know what it's like in the US, but I know that in the UK and Europe, this thing's going to be mandatory on every electronic product, right? So if you can talk to people on an electronic device, the age verification thing is happening. None of us want it. It doesn't matter if you game on Xbox, Switch, PlayStation. None of us want this age verification stuff. It's been forced on us. We can't do anything about it. It's just a whole new level of control. If you look at it, it's not to help. It's not to help the kids, which is the reason they keep giving. Like Logan, you probably didn't know this, but like last year, randomly on a random Wednesday, they completely censored the internet without telling anyone. Like at 8 p.m.
That's a little sus.
Yeah, and what was the reason? To protect the kids. So, do you know what was number one on the App Store that day?
Protect the kids.
Well, it may as well have been, but every single thing in the top 10 on iOS Store was a VPN. Because people don't like being controlled, they don't like being told what to do, but unfortunately, the way consoles work, we have to deal with it. So age verification is unfortunate. It's happening. I think all of that stuff goes into effect in June or July. Hopefully, when things change in the future, I can't say too much. Things will, the age verification thing won't be a thing anymore. But as far as I know, it's not happening in the US as of now. But we'll see. I think it's happening in Australia as well. It's just awful. None of us want this. And yeah, nothing really else I can say on here without swearing. But yeah, price hikes, bad. Let's see what we got now. You know what? This kind of ties into... This is going to be the longest topic of the show, so I might as well get into it. So PlayStation is returning to exclusives. Now, exclusives is a big talking point today because it's essentially going to be half the show. So PlayStation, they've been putting their games on PC for a couple of years now. They've waited a long time in between, the console release and the PC release. And they've put some live service games on other platforms. They've put some single-player games on other platforms like Lego Horizon. And, most of their AAA stuff is on PC. Well, anyway, apparently they held a town hall meeting, and no more single-player games are going to PC. I've always felt that single-player games, or even AA games, or AAA, basically any game in general, I think there's no problem putting these games on PC. So, I think Sony not doing the PC stuff is a big mistake. There's a lot of money to be made on PC because you have a lot of PC gamers. They've spent insane amounts of money on their rig. They have this thousands and thousands of pounds of this rig, and they have no interest in consoles, right? Which is why I've never been against the whole PC thing. You have people on PC, they want to play with the highest settings possible, their own frame rate, right? They have no interest in buying a console. And I think this also plays into the whole Grand Theft Auto thing. I think you're going to have a lot of PC gamers that will not buy a console, and that's perfectly fine. I think it's stupid that they're not putting it on PC day one. So, the PC things never bother me, but yeah, they're going back to full-on exclusives at PlayStation, and honestly, I think this might actually push Asher Sharma and Xbox to do full exclusives. For the ecosystem, I mean, like Xbox and PC, because it's weird, the whole perception of Xbox and exclusives has been warped for a very long time. Even before the whole multi-platform thing, 2 years ago, you'd always have Phil Spencer on IGN, GameSpot, whatever outlet, and you'd have these people, these journalists, outright ask Phil Spencer if, hey, is Starfield going to PlayStation? And it's you would never hear this by any other, or asked to any other, personality from PlayStation or Nintendo. They never would ask that stuff, but they would with Xbox. And I feel as soon as they start doing multi-platform stuff, that opened up the door, because it was never just the 4 games thing, which we were told. It kind of just, it damaged Xbox a bit, let's be honest. I personally feel like the whole multi-platform strategy is a failed experiment for Xbox. And by the way, there's different reactions you see to this online. You know, as soon as they mentioned the whole multi-platform thing, some people lost their minds online, right? They were rude to everyone, fell out with people. There's people that I used to interact with daily on social media that haven't spoken to me since, right?
Same.
And it's such a shame. And like I disagreed with Microsoft's multi-platform strategy, but the difference is etiquette. You know, like I know how to act, right? And some people didn't. Some people lost the marbles. Some people just retreated themselves and exited themselves out of the whole fandom or whatever community we'll call it. And like I've never agreed with Microsoft's approach to multi-platform games. So like when they start doing these multi-platform games, I just roll my eyes and I talk about the important things like game features and whatnot, story, and I feel like PlayStation moving back to exclusives is gonna put Asher Sharma and the rest of Xbox on their back foot because look, you can't play, let's say, Wolverine on a Helix now. You can't, because you're going to be able to play PC games. So, like, even if storefronts aren't available on the next gen Xbox, if you can just play the games you've bought, which I think makes more sense, you're still going to be able to open up Steam on your phone, buy Spider-Man or something, and play it on your Helix. Well, I think Sony saw that, and I think they're retreating from that. They don't want any part of it. And I think that might make Microsoft do exclusives again because, look, there's a lot of... Logan, you've seen my posts. Like, there's a lot of different thoughts in this whole exclusive thing. It's not just a clear, cut and dry, thing, right? I personally feel that doing PC gaming is perfectly fine. But I think that putting games on other platforms and like your big tentpole games is hurting the brand. The conversation isn't like why should people buy an Xbox, right? The truth is people buy consoles for games, right? There's other reasons as well, right? I think Game Pass is a brilliant service. I know for a fact there's people that buy into Xbox for Game Pass, but I think when it comes to I'm doing air quotes again, core demographic. Right, these people, they're looking what game to play, and if they have to, and there's enough games there, they'll buy into the platform. I think that Microsoft's, how should I put it? Microsoft's multi-platform efforts really started when their first-party output became really good. In the past, their first-party games, let's be honest, it's been controversial, right? Redfall came out, whether you liked it or not, it was labelled controversial. It was 30 frames per second. Starfield came out, it was 30 frames per second, and IGN said the game was controversial based on nothing. And I'd say that from Indiana Jones onwards, and Forza Horizon 5, those games onwards basically showed that Microsoft have not only raised the quality of their games, but increased the output. So now you have games coming out consistently, really good games, and they never let their exclusivity plan play out. They start doing multi-platform games. Like, we saw someone from 343 Industries, Halo Industries, Halo Game Studios, whatever, sit on stage with a PlayStation t-shirt on. Like, Logan, I know that gave you PTSD.
Yeah, yeah, I'll just say I'm not a fan of that. Look, it's a free society. You can, do whatever, but just nah, man. I mean, that's like you work for Ford Motor Company and you show up at a company presentation wearing a Chevy t-shirt. It's like, what are you smoking? Like, what are you doing? Like, we don't do things that way here. Like, I get it. It was during the wavy gravy, rainbows and butterfly kisses and, chocolate fountains and all this, you know, pie in the sky, everything's wonderful. But that's just not the world we live in, buddy. I mean, I hate to break it to people, but I mean, it's like I'm an eternal optimist, but even I know like that that it's just not gonna work. I mean, there's business aspects, but there's also like cultural. And you talk about how, Xbox was the only company getting asked these certain questions and this and being pressed about stuff. Honestly, I think that's because they had an air of vulnerability and an air of, you know, softness about them to where people are like, you know what, we can jump on these guys. We can, turn screws on them. We can, press them about stuff and they'll wobble. And it would be like, I'm not saying they are this company, it's just an example. But like, say, PlayStation is Rolls Royce, you know, expensive, like extraordinary luxury brand, iconic. People know what it is. You don't go to a Rolls Royce and ask for a econo car or a this or that. It's not what you do. You know what they're about. But Xbox was so wishy washy for a long time to where it's like they felt like fair game to a lot of people. And I'm glad that they seem to be getting this aspect better now and are putting a strong foot forward. And like you said, I think PlayStation, basically culling the PC ports puts even more vice grip on Xbox and their decisions that they have to make. Like, whether they want to make them or not, it's becoming more and more obvious what they should do. And, you know, like, you could have the Helix be like a Trojan horse console for a little while because it's like, oh, here's a console and it has PC as well. And then it's like, oh, now I can sneak in the back door and get some PlayStation IP and some other stuff and see, like, instead of, we can give away all our games, but also get some of theirs by proxy because of PC. Now that they found the mole, they found the hole there, and they plugged it. So that's not happening anymore. So, Kumbaya needs to stop, pour the campfire out, stand up and compete. I know that gets some people in their fifis for some reason. I don't know why, but it does. And, it's okay. Agree, disagree, whatever. But they got to man up and compete at some point.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because like there's a lot of different reasons why people would want games to be on everything, but I've noticed there's a bunch of different groups in this topic, right? You have
I
people,
would love them everywhere. I
yeah,
would. Ideally, you could play any game anywhere, and it's just a user interface or controller tailored for certain things like cars, but that's just not the world we live in.
yeah. Like it would be cool if you could fire up, your Xbox and play, Pokemon and play Uncharted on a Switch, right? And Zelda on a PlayStation, right? We just don't live in that world. And I feel like, these people that will just like go out there and say this game should be on everything, I feel like, yeah, I get it, right? It would be cool if these games could, be available to everyone, right? But like realistically, if we're talking about the long-term growth of the platform, right? Secure like this past couple of weeks, I've seen multiple Japanese developers talking about how they want to bring their games to Xbox. They just want more gamers on the platform, right? And it's not like Xbox is like doing Wii U numbers. Like Xbox is like 40 million sold or something, or at least close to it. Like that's good, right? That's more than the original Xbox. But doing the multi-platform strategy the way they did, it's easy to see they've damaged the brand. By the way, I do think they can fix it. I 100% think that they can fix the problems and actually be better off because of it. Because all this stuff's just a learning process at the end of the day. And, we've seen a lot of change over the past 80 days. Xbox in the past, they've put games on like mobile. They've put games on like in the original Xbox, right? They put Knights of the Old Republic on PC. They put Halo 2 on PC. I think Halo Combat Evolved was on PC as well, right? So like they're not strange to putting games on PC, but like the whole like let's be honest, if what Microsoft did 2 years ago happened, and it was just Nintendo, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
It would be like their mobile approach.
Yeah.
People would see, oh, this is to get it on the go so you could have this as a secondary device. That's how people would view it.
Yeah, but this like built-in rivalry between Xbox and PlayStation, it cuts deep. It's been going on for decades now, and like the rivalries there, like look, we all know that if Sony had the money, they would spend Xbox out of business. They would get Grand Theft Auto exclusive. They would pay for every game to be off Xbox, but Xbox's mindset for the past couple of years, it's been, hey, let's put our games everywhere, let's make everyone happy. It's like, that's cool, but like, how do you run a business that way? I just don't see how you can. Like, and obviously, like, whenever Phil Spencer's done one of these interviews, these questions are vetted in advance, right? So I can't even blame the people asking Phil Spencer the questions, you know. But like, I bet a lot of these people have been wanting to ask, like, how do you plan to grow the Xbox console base if you don't have exclusives? Right? I bet a lot of these media outlets and podcasts or whatever, they've wanted to ask Phil Spencer that question, but they literally couldn't. And the truth is, Xbox, in my opinion, it's the best hardware. Right? Best console, best features. You have quick resume. You have backwards compatibility with 4 generations. You know, best feature set. And in my opinion, the best first-party games. But if we're talking about the mainstream gamer, they are looking at the games, right? And now you have, like, I've seen some of the biggest YouTubers in gaming, you know, like Moist Critical, who's been very vocal against Xbox for years. Even he said he might have been wrong about the new leadership, right? And, like, I know people who are PlayStation fans that want Xbox to go back to doing exclusives, right? And we've seen in the past, what does a power hungry, power mad PlayStation look like, right? When they've got no competition, PlayStation's at the worst, right?
It's time for you to get a second job, buddy, for
Yeah,
that PS3.
yeah. Like the PS3 is like that encapsulates everything that happened wrong, right? You know, Xbox, they were coming off a console that sold like 35, I think, million consoles. PlayStation 2, one of the best-selling consoles of all time at that point. And they said, hey, if you really want to, you know, get a PlayStation 3, you'll be willing to work a second job. And it sold. It was super expensive in the UK. I know it was the same everywhere else, but like, it was super expensive. They didn't have basically any first-party games that were remotely interesting, and like, PlayStation suffered because of it, because of that attitude. And then what did Xbox do? They had a 50% failure rate on hardware, but do you know what they did? Steve Ballmer said, basically gave the go ahead to Peter Moore to fix the problem. They fixed it. They start coming out with interesting games, interesting features, and then Xbox became the de facto console that generation, right? So when people were talking about gaming, they were talking about Xbox. And the same thing happened to Xbox that generation afterwards, right? We saw the whole TV thing in 2013. Their hubris got to them. And like, was it cool that you could do hand gestures to change TV channels? I guess. Was it exactly like Minority Report? Not really. But like that, like, they suffered because of that to this day. And like, Xbox, they've went through these ups and downs. They surely have learned, and I hope. And like, look, back to the whole point of, like, you know, the multiple groups of people. There's people like us that would like games everywhere, but we see the reality of the situation, and these consoles clearly need exclusives to sell consoles. There's another group of people that just want all these games on everything, but they'll only ever talk about Xbox, right? You'll never see these people campaign for Spider-Man on Xbox or anything like that. They never do that. It's just Xbox games going multi-platform that they'll talk about. Then there's another group of people that only want games to be exclusive just so they can put them on a list, right? And there's another group of people that only want games to go multi-platform so they don't have to buy an Xbox. So it's a weird situation. And I think that, you know, if you look at Microsoft and you want them to grow, and like, look, gaming isn't cheap. right? These next gen consoles are probably going to be pricey, unfortunately. And like, would it be cool if you could play all the games you wanted to play on one console? Hell yeah! But if we saw PlayStation put their games elsewhere and Xbox do the same, then it wouldn't be a problem. But it is a problem now. And I think that if you have people that want Xbox to succeed, you have to understand that they need to do exclusives in some capacity. Otherwise, like, Logan, you've probably heard this, right? Game Pass is the exclusive. That's something I
From a
keep hearing.
certain point of view, maybe, but I mean, that would be like, I I know I'm a car guy, so I keep going back to it, but that'd be like, well, my car has heat and cool seats, like for the front seats, like I can cool them or I can heat the leather seats, and as a feature, like that's a feature. That's not like an exclusive, like this runs on electric or this runs on like I don't know. It's a feature, yes, but an exclusive, no.
Like, don't get me wrong, Game Pass is bloody great. It's cool getting these day one games. It's cool getting the perks. The fact that you get discounts is cool. Like, I love using Game Pass. Excuse me. Um, but like I know for a fact there's people that have bought into Xbox because of Game Pass. But these aren't numbers that you want. Like look at all the people that's playing Forza Horizon 6 right now. Look how much that game is popping off. What if Xbox was the only console to play that game? Because I've seen, if you go to the official Forza Twitters and YouTubes or whatever, look at the replies, right? There's people that are actively going out there and saying, can't wait for this on PlayStation, right? That's the message they've sent with all of these games. And again, I do think there's many reasons to buy an Xbox. Game Pass, backwards compatibility, the ecosystem as a whole is great. But my God, if you have first-party games to bolster your lineup, and you have Grand Theft Auto coming out this year. It's probably gonna have exclusive written in big letters and mission underneath in small letters, to make it look like it's exclusive. That's gonna be a hell of a marketing deal for Sony. Like, wouldn't it be cool if you could say, hey, here's this Gears of War bundle, or here's this Forza Horizon 6 bundle, and you can only play these on console on Xbox. Like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because like it seems to be such a novel concept that people can't understand. Like. And I think what what it is because I haven't whined about it for 2 years. I've just said I've disagreed with it. You know, there's people out there that have been very vocal for 2 years, and I fundamentally know that.
Slightly, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I know for a fact that if you're loud and annoying on social media, these not journalists, these executives and people from Xbox, they just mute you or block you. So like it doesn't accomplish anything. Which is why I try and tell people this all the time, right? Whining is not constructive criticism, but gamers for some reason forget that, right? Logic completely goes out the window. Which is why for the past 2 years I've just been saying I disagree with it. I don't understand it. And now you have Asha Sharma in that town hall meeting thing where she was talking about how they need to reassess or reevaluate their approach to exclusives. And there's plenty of wiggle room for that stuff, right? You have the smaller games come out that are slightly risky, such as Kiln, right? Put that on everything. Put it on mobile even, right? But your big games, like seeing Halo on a PlayStation box seems a bit odd, let's be honest.
It's blasphemous, just straight up. Like, I know that made some people feel a certain way saying it that way, but it is. I mean, it's like your iconic soul of your company and your brand, and you just give it away to your biggest competitor and get nothing back in return. And it's probably not even going to hit that great of numbers on that platform, to be honest. It's a remake, reboot, attempt of the first one. My guess is it'll do slightly better than the Gears numbers, but I don't know. Was it worth it? I'd say no.
Yeah, and by the way, so when that whole thing came out where she was wanting to reevaluate the exclusives thing, I made this tweet without even thinking it would have any backlash, I just posted it. I was like, I think the multi-platform approach was a failed experiment, and the juice wasn't quite worth the squeeze. Right? That phrase angered people. Like,
Oh, they're getting a lot of juice from their squeeze, apparently. So, I
yeah,
mean,
it's crazy because like, look, these games haven't done really well on PlayStation. Like, yeah, Sea of Thieves, of course, because
and Forza.
there's not really a
Yeah.
game like that out at the minute. And then Forza, like, look, I think Forza games tend to do really well. At least they do in the UK. Like, that was always going to do well. But like the fact that Gears of War, one of the most arguably influential shooters of all time, didn't do anything on PlayStation. Nothing. What, 100,000? That's not worth anything. Like, and like damaging the brand for that, for pennies, for Microsoft, I just don't get it. Starfield didn't really do that well, and that's a brand new Bethesda RPG. I think Elder Scrolls remaster remake did well. That was going to anyway, but like I just don't understand. And I've always asked people like this: if you don't think they should do exclusives, what should they do? And there's other things they need to fix. By the way, there's the marketing strategy they need to fix. I think they completely need to put the new branding on the box and just change how they market the console. I think the way modern consoles in general are advertised is boring. And this goes to PlayStation and Nintendo at the minute. All these consoles have 4K 60 HDR on the box. Like, we get that. We've had that for a long time now, right? I want to see a game character on the box.
Yeah, put a game in it, put a couple controllers in it like they used to, and boom, that's way better.
Yeah. Now, the funny thing is about the whole exclusive thing, and I burst out laughing when I saw this because Xbox is starting this brand new, how should I say it, feedback website where you can go in and vote for what you want. And I think it's really cool. It's called Player Voice. And the two most requested things. And before the show went live, number one was exclusives, which had almost 9,000 votes. Right? And number two was backwards compatibility. So, two of the most requested things on Xbox. It's not a feature. People want the return of backwards compatibility and the return of exclusives, right? Like, people. Oh, by the way, I've noticed this earlier today. If you're listening right now and you haven't been to that website yet, I'm gonna give people some advice because Microsoft will pay attention to this. And I was gonna mention it during Boom Show, but I forgot. People need to stop making their own topics for things that are already on the website. Right? It dilutes the numbers. So, for instance, number one is exclusives. People want Xbox exclusives. If you go to the website and you vote, cool. But if you go to page 2 and 3, there's people saying return to exclusives, bring back exclusives as new things to vote on. Stop doing that, right? Because it dilutes the voting pool. If you see something you want, just give it a like. Comment on it. Microsoft's paying attention to this stuff. And backwards
I
compatibility.
wonder if they'll merge the all the similar topics, like add them up or something.
Yeah. Hopefully they can merge them. But like I saw today at least 4 topics for exclusives, and I saw 3 for backwards compatibility. Like, I get it. People want to see their post get the most likes. It's not about likes. It's about sending a message. And if people want exclusives, backwards compatibility. By the way, the other top ones were let Helix play disc-based games. The other one was a HDR dashboard, and
No online paywall.
Yeah, no online paywall. Another one was also, let's see, people want 360 avatars to come back. I actually liked.
That's an interesting throwback that I have not seen that many people request, but apparently there are people out there who want it.
Yeah, And I've seen this in chat. The reason why people want backwards compatibility to quote unquote come back is not because it's gone. It's not because people can't play a Black Ops all of a sudden. It's because people want, people want more. People want more backwards compatible games. There's over 600 360 games backwards compatible right now. Wouldn't it be cool if it was more? And licenses, I know for a fact, licenses aren't the reason for all these games that they aren't. It's just they stopped. They got to work on the Xbox Series consoles, and they stopped putting new games backwards compatible. Hell, we had a batch in 2021, and I think that was like 70 plus games. And great, people want more. And I know for a fact there's a lot of games that aren't backwards compatible. They aren't being stopped by licensed music. I'm looking at you, Star Wars, Republic Heroes, just games like that. And I think that people want more. Like, look, I love the fact that the games on my shelf, most of my 360 games are in fact backwards compatible. Most. It would be cool if there were more. Like Logan, you want to talk about this player voice thing. Like, they do pay attention to this thing. This is how we got backwards compatibility back in 2015, because there was a website that was almost like this, identical. Didn't have the best layout, but people could vote on what they wanted, and number one back then was backwards compatibility, and we got that. Like, this website exists. They are paying attention to it, but what's your take?
I think it's great, and it's been a long time coming. Something they've needed to do for a while, and I just want to, as much grief as we give some things, I also want to give kudos when it's due, and like kudos to the community for these being the top two. I mean, this sends a really strong message of what's important to the brand is exclusives. Like, keep Halo where Halo belongs, keep Fable where Fable belongs, and Gears where Gears belongs, and then backwards compatibility. I don't know if anybody's read the news, but Xbox acquired Activision Blizzard King, one of the biggest publishers in the whole bloody world, which comes with a whole swath of IPs that they did not have in 2021 for the 20th anniversary when they said we have exhausted what we have own or can do for various reasons. Like, that opens up an obscene amount of IPs that they can bring back. Like Crash Bandicoot, Spyros, like you own those wholly. Like, surely those are shoe-ins to come back. Like the Crash of the Titans or, Spyro Year of the Dragon, or whatever. Like, or Singularity. You own Raven, you own id, you own all this. That should be there. Um all Quake 4, why is Quake 4 not backwards compatible? Like, you own id now, you own, Bethesda, you own Raven now, you own all the parties involved. That absolutely should be in it. Like, there's no excuses for some titles. Like, straight up, no excuses for some titles. Some, there could be a technical reason. I get it. Some, there could be a licensing for some obscure thing that we don't think of normally. And okay, cool. But there are some that are just straight up like it's a matter of want to. And clearly, if you look at the charts, people kind of want them. It seems like people really want the backwards compatibility. So, I don't know. Just saying. It's the 25th anniversary. Would be a pretty good time. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, while we're talking, I'll talk about this player voice thing because the exclusive things actually surprise me. Like, normally when a website would put out normally when a company would put out a website like this, you wouldn't expect the reaction to be like super high, super quick. But man, I'm looking at this now, right? In the past hour, the exclusive one has went up 200 votes. So it's
People are on it like white on rice.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And look, I get it, right? There's some people that just want every game to be everywhere, and it's like we all living in a happy land where, everything's made of rainbows and chocolates, right? We don't. We really don't. We live in a cruel world where competition is king. And look, 10,200 people voted on this. Can we say all of them did it for console war reasons or because they want the Xbox brand to grow? Backwards compatibility being 2 actually surprised me because like we talk about it all the time, right? And how they need to add the Activision batch, right? But really, like I'm happy to see more people think like us. like we want more games to be added, and there's plenty of games that we need to be added. Like look, do I
Can I
expect?
throw a number out there?
Yeah,
Okay, just because it's related, I just wanted to throw it out there. Like on the backwards compatibility preservation site, which is, community run, has been endorsed by Microsoft. Their people have sent people there and said, "Hey, you know, like fans, you guys want stuff? Put this out there. We're looking at this." So clearly, it's a place you should go to vote and put numbers in. Like just for a sheer magnitude of numbers, like as of this moment, there are 454,851 votes casted so far.
wow,
Like there these people be wanting them old games, Jamie.
yep.
And there's like are almost 48,000 registered voters. Like clearly this is not just you and me. I know it feels like that sometimes, but you and I are not on this hill alone. There's clearly a lot of people that want these back, and it just makes me very, very happy.
Yeah, honestly, like I didn't really realize that that many people would want backwards because like I feel like maybe I'm stuck in the past, right? Maybe I like the 360 era a little too much, but I'm happy to say like we're not alone. Like like maybe I'm a bit crazy. Maybe I like the 360 era too much, and I miss those times. My God, I miss those times. But like, even, I'll mention an indie game that isn't backwards compatible, and in fact, I don't even know if it's on PC. I'm gonna guess it is. Fez.
It is PC, but it isn't BC though. Yeah.
It's like that like huge indie game from that generation. Can't play it on console. Never even got remastered. Um, just like things like that. Like I always talk about the Saboteur. By the way, if the Saboteur was made backwards compatible, I could almost guarantee that would be in the top 5 on the Xbox Store within a week.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that game is so GTA coded, but
Yeah,
World War II and it was Pandemic's swan song game.
yeah.
It's so good.
And for people that don't know, The Saboteur is an open world GTA style game set in World War II Paris, and it's amazing. It actually has Assassin's Creed gameplay as well. The way you climb buildings and stuff. But my God, like that game would pop off now.
Oh, and it's black and white
Yeah,
for parts.
yeah, that game's beautiful as well. Still looks good. But there's other games like I think that would be really cool to come back. And this is a random game that I'm sure 4 people have played. It's called Rise of the Argonauts. It's
Oh yeah, I want that one too. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not even kidding. It's Mass Effect / Dragon Age, but in Greek mythology. And it was
Hey, I'm down.
it was made
Yeah.
by let's see what the developer's called. Codemasters. It was Codemasters' first non-racing game that was that big, and nobody played it. They made this game that had no marketing, and it was an RPG that just came out in a busy time. Nobody's heard of it. Nobody's ever played it. I think like there's 5 of us, and it's so good. And that's the thing about that generation. You had all these like hidden gems that were like super amazing. And I guarantee anyone
Wet,
listening right now.
remember me. Yeah. But the
Yeah, I guarantee anyone listening right now, if you like Dragon Age or Mass Effect, Rise of the Argonauts, you'd love it. It's basically Mass Effect with God of War combat in a Greek mythology setting. Like, it's so good, and people can't play it on console. But yeah, this feedback website, they are paying attention to it, which is why I keep telling people to, stop like making the same requests. Like, there's already an exclusive thing, vote on it. There's already a backwards compatibility thing, vote on it. I'm sure they aren't scrolling through all these pages to add them all together, but hey, they're gonna pay attention to this. And when Asha Sharma first came in and took over Xbox, let me tell you, a lot of people doubted her. A lot of people. And I think it was fairly right too, It was weird seeing leadership change for Xbox right before, you know, a new generation. But let's be honest, she's knocked it out of the park in 80 days. She's done really well. Now, are there still things to fix? Yeah. But like, for instance, this is one of the reasons why I knew that we were going to see actual change in Xbox. When the Xbox Series X and S were about to come out, and we were introduced to Quick Resume, right? Super cool feature. I use it every day. I thought that everyone's going to use that. Everyone's going to love it. But a lot of people play multiplayer. And if you use that feature with multiplayer, it's not ideal. So, yeah, you might think, well, just disable it as soon as you close out the game. I think if you make something super easy for someone, they'll do it. If they can't, they'll just ignore it. So, them putting the option in that people have been asking for 6 years, can we remove Quick Resume per title? And we've not been able to do that. And then Asha Sharma, straight away, got a team on that, right? So why did we have to wait 6 years, 5+ years for this most requested feature, and then new leadership gets in charge and we get it straight away, right? That's how I knew we were going to get change, right? Whether Microsoft goes to full exclusives or not, we're seeing change, and I like that because my God in heaven, let me tell you, it's been bleak. These past 2 years, we stopped getting features 3 years ago. Really, why did we stop getting console features? And I say this all the time. I feel like Microsoft, they were coasting by. They were satisfied somewhat with the growth, just being the steady line, right? And they weren't doing anything proactive to change it, but they also weren't making things worse than they already were. And now we're seeing actual change. We're seeing even the logos changed. Like they've gone to all caps, right? And I thought it was funny when this came out last week. And I think it was like Friday when this happened, where Asha Sharma wrote on Twitter, it was the poll asking, what do you prefer, X followed by lowercase box or full on uppercase? But if you look at any Xbox product right now, it's all in all caps anyway. But when people write Xbox, even look at my title right now, I have lowercase box, right? It's because I'm so used to typing it out that way. And that's how most people type it out. So getting used to all caps is going to take some getting used to, but the truth is, if you look at all Xbox products, it's in all caps anyway. So unifying the whole brand, I think, is a good move, because if you look at a Nintendo product or a PlayStation product, it's spelt the same way every single time. You don't have, like, Nintendo's uppercase N, and then the rest is in lowercase on every single product. Same with PlayStation. They have the capital S, which is their thing, or short for PS. This seems like a mundane thing to most people, but believe me, when you get a sort of OCD over the way logos look, it drives me insane sometimes. So bear with me. I'm not losing my mind. It's a small change, but with the logo going back to green, that, by the way, that update will be rolling out to all console users, I'm guessing pretty soon. But I just like these small changes. So if they change up the marketing, and it looks like they are marketing differently going forward, I'm positive. Now, I do think that if the whole exclusive thing is changed soon, we are going to see it on their summer showcase. Like, you're going to have hundreds of thousands of people watching live, and when they announce release dates for Gears of War, Fable, all that stuff, we will see logos, more than likely, and we'll see if they're going to continue doing multi-platform for the foreseeable future. But I am excited about the future of Xbox now, and as someone that covers Xbox, I'm excited. I'm really excited. Logan, have you got anything else to say on the whole exclusive and voting topic before we close out the show, or Xbox in general?
I just completely agree on all those, and just I think the logo was a big deal. I know some people still try to downplay it for some reason, but like to me, a logo is, in business and sports and everything else, a logo is key to your identity. It's what people on the outside associate with you, and they see that, and it invokes a certain image and vibes, aura, whatever. And it was cold and corporate and soulless, and before they changed it, and it brings back the OG vibes mixed with a modern futuristic tech, and it's a best of both. I think the all caps is just kind of like, hey, we're in your face, we're edgy, we're Xbox, Renegade is back, and that sends a strong message. Again, it might seem small on the surface, but these things add up, and they seem to be riding the ship. And I truly believe that they will announce something regarding their exclusivity plans at the June showcase. Whether it's like a total, like, this is everything we're going to do, or just for a few titles, they will address it in some capacity there. And I have to say, like, if they had, like, they got the guy who does, like, the Halo Arena voiceovers, or the guy who used to do the exclusives,
Oh yeah.
announcement for the old E3 showcases. If they got one of those two guys to do the voice for exclusive again, that would be so cool, and just run that out.
Yeah. Speaking of the logo thing, I just checked to see when Nintendo changed their logo. Uh, so the last time Nintendo had a different logo was before 1975. So
Hey, if it ain't broke,
yeah,
don't fix.
and like you see the Nintendo logo, you know immediately what it is, and like don't change it. PlayStation, they've essentially had the same logo for years. They've just changed the color of it. And Xbox, like, look, we've talked about this before. I hate the whole minimalist thing when it comes to logos.
Same.
Um, every logo starts going like black and white. I just like stop it, stop it. Nintendo's red, PlayStation's blue. You do your green thing, and thankfully they're going back to green stuff. Um, we're obviously going to need to see all this change on their packaging and stuff, but like if they get the marketing right, if they do the whole like green across the board, just like change everything. And do you know what? There's one change that I would like Microsoft to do, and maybe I'd like to know what other people think. The Xbox game cases, the spines being grey annoy me.
Dude, I felt like I was the only one, because again, this is gonna make us sound old, but I remember 360 and OG era where all the cases were different, and like they had different art styles on the spine and everything, and it was just really cool and fun. And now it's just like everything's gray.
Yeah. In fact, do you know there's 3 games on Xbox that don't have a grey spine? Right? You have
Um,
Cyberpunk 2077, which is yellow. You have Red Dead Redemption 2, which is red, and you have Grand Theft Auto 5, which is black.
mm-hmm.
Every single game case has a grey spine. But if I look at my 360 games on the shelf below, they're all game art, all nice and colourful. You know, I don't know. I think PlayStation does the same as the 360 style game art, where it's like individual per title. But the grey spines have annoyed me for years. Right? Stop it. Stop the grey thing. Right? Go back to three. In fact, if Microsoft's listening right now, just do what you did in the 360 era. Like,
That covers the bases.
yeah, yeah. Long story short, do what you did do in the 360 era. Obviously, you have more first-party titles now. You have backwards compatibility, which is like more like backwards compatibility with OG Xbox games. There weren't many, but like now, just do what you did with the 360. But hey, I like what I'm saying. Now, Logan, have you got anything else to say before we close out the show? Because I think we've covered everything.
No, just keep making your voices be heard. Keep shouting out for backwards compatibility, exclusivity. These I feel it bears mentioning, like, there are still some big games or some Japanese games that still haven't come to the platform. I know the Mega Man collection is one in particular that has kind of really irked the community. I know that one. Ace Attorney, one of the collections of those from Capcom. And there are some other ones, like, they've done a lot better, but ID at Xbox also rejects some games randomly that get approved everywhere else. I don't know what standard Microsoft uses, but apparently there's stuff that is not okay for them, but Nintendo and Sony seem perfectly fine with it. I don't know if it's because of where the companies are from, but it's just kind of odd. So just throw that out there, that that's another issue that I hear from the community a lot and wanted to shine a spotlight on is those games in particular, and then just ID at Xbox's methods seem to leave something to be desired in some cases.
If people listening, if you just randomly heard some 80s music, I like to apologize. I keep forgetting I've got that setting on. Um, but yeah, I like what I'm saying, and people need to vote for what they want because, my God, we need more changes. But hey, it's a good start. Anyway, we're back for a new episode of All Things Xbox podcast next Tuesday, same time. Everyone in chat has been amazing. Now, we did have some technical difficulties at the beginning of the show. Like my audio settings were all messed up. Hopefully, I can get things saved this time. But again, everyone in chat's been amazing. I should have a new video out coming out by the next episode of the podcast. So if you like Xbox games from the past, hint, hint, you might like this one. Anyway, we'll see you next week, everyone. We're out, everybody.